Hey there, it's Scott Fox from ClickMillionaires.com. Today I've got a expert website review for our good friend Click Millionaires member Tony from Surrey in the United Kingdom. We're going to talk about Reffells flooring. As you can see, Tony has a website here that's designed to sell flooring, carpet, interiors, and services like that at Reffells, which is his store, a bricks and mortar store for a change over there in the UK. Tony wrote in and told me that his objective is to build a search engine friendly site that will help attract real world foot traffic into his real world store. So this is a little bit of a different tactic than we usually talk about in these expert website reviews and our website tune-up community clinics over at clickmillionaires.com. Usually we're talking about a website that's built specifically to attract more online sales. This is actually more of a lead generator to create real world visits to their store in Surrey. So let's talk about it and see what we can do to help Tony improve this site, along with all the great feedback and discussion, of course, that's already happened in the forum at clickmillionaires.com, thanks to all our members who've been participating and sharing their feedback with Tony. Tony's worked through a couple versions of this, and this is our latest one. So what do I think he could change and improve? Well, let's see. I guess I would start, let's talk about the domain name. That's the first thing right off the bat. This is presently on a private server because it's just in development, but he's going to be using the domain name, or so far has been using, carpets-surrey.co.uk, which is a very search engine friendly domain, emphasizing both carpets and Surrey. Tony has concerns about that because going forward, first of all, they're expanding beyond carpets, as you can see in the pictures here. This is a flooring center. They do commercial flooring, not just carpets, but vinyl and wood and other surfaces. But also they're expanding into lighting and some other things and doing interior. So carpets alone seems somewhat limiting. In addition to that, it uses the word Surrey in the name. And Surrey is the district, or the area where Tony's store is, and has been for a long time. But he's thinking that Google now geolocates all the customers anyway, so why bother? So here are my responses on those 2 points, Tony, to amplify a little bit more what I already contributed in the forum on this topic. First of all, I think carpets is a good idea because you're still selling carpets. I'd keep that. You might want to add interiors or flooring or some other noun that further expands upon your product line. Those both make sense from a keyword-rich point of view. Now, the dropping of Surrey, I really don't think that necessarily is a good idea, except for one qualification that I'll share in a second. Surrey is where you are, and yes, Google can geolocate customers increasingly well these days. But if you put Surrey in your domain name, well, it just emphasizes to Google again that you are in Surrey. So the customer may be in Surrey and looking, but you, compared to another site that doesn't have Surrey in the name, well, you're going to trump that one because you have committed to it very publicly. Including words in your domain name is probably the strongest signal that you can send to Google telling them what your site is about. So if, for example, a competitor or a review site came up and started doing a bunch of postings and got higher search engine ranking in general, well, they might start to outrank you for your own store in Surrey because you hadn't included Surrey in the name and they use that in a bunch of postings. So it's the strongest signal you can send, and I think it could still be useful. Now, the only reason that I would not do that is, of course, if Surrey isn't quite accurate. I don't know the English neighborhoods and districts as well, obviously, as you do. Right here on your homepage, it says you're also serving Reigate, Redhill, Dorking, Croydon, Crawley. Maybe one of those is better, and you can't put them all in, right? So you've got to pick a few. But the other caveat is that I would think really maybe you want the word Reffells in there. Reffells is your brand name. It's a long-standing name that your company's been trading under, I gather, and it's something that the local folks are going to recognize, and if they don't, you want them to recognize. So putting Reffells in the name, I think, could be a good reinforcement, not so much necessarily for search engines, but for humans. They're looking for carpet. They see Reffells in your domain name in the search results. It says, oh yeah, Reffells, we should click over there. Or they don't know your site or your name, but they go and they see it and they say reffells-carpets.co.uk. It's like, oh, Reffells, right, and it will help them remember. So this isn't all about search engine optimization. The branding opportunities of including Reffells in your domain name are also interesting. Unfortunately, the advice I'm giving you ends up with a really too long domain name. I'd like it to be something like Reffells Carpets Flooring Interiors Surrey.co.uk, which is of course completely ridiculous. So you're going to have to choose, what your most important points are and work that out on your own, I guess. But we can of course talk about it more in the domain name section over in the clickmillionaires.com forum. Now let's talk more about the design a bit. Let's see. Well, this flash, this animation up top where you've these different pictures cycling through is very nice. You found some nice photographs that emphasize the different lines that you're carrying and suggest that it isn't just carpets, as an example. What I'm missing in any of these is any people. They're very sort of sterile shots, and I guess that's okay because the emphasis is really on the flooring itself, but it feels a bit impersonal, a bit cold. So, but I think pictures are a key to a site like this, obviously, and I think that that is better, perhaps, than this stuff down here. This is very text heavy, and the font is quite small. You're using a gray type on a black background. You talked a lot in your submission for this website, TuneUp Community Clinic, about how you didn't just want to attract anybody, but you wanted to attract the right demographic. Now, first of all, I'm not sure that's accurate, Tony, because on the internet, you want to attract everybody. Let them figure out what demographic they are, right? Even if they're not the right demographic, if they have the money and they're interested in this certain kind of flooring, then I think they are your demographic. So the internet is interesting because it can attract people you wouldn't necessarily expect. Still, of course, you want to target those who are the most likely customer. And in this case, I mean, I'm guessing that your target customer is someone fairly affluent, and that often means they're older, which means these small font sizes they're gonna find this hard to read, especially with the low contrast that you have on this with this gray type on a black background. I think you'd be better served to brighten up the whole site, frankly. We've done some remodeling and moving around and stuff lately here, and I have to tell you, all the interiors websites I've been to lately, as well as the stores themselves, at least here in California, and this may be a style thing, they're very much about natural colors these days, neutrals like tans and light greens and light yellows and things like that, neutral colors that then the colors can pop out from your pictures like this. Now, usually when you see black like this, at least on the web, especially this black down here is very dark, as opposed to this more gray over here. That's usually like a music site, like a rock and roll site, a goth site, or something kind of scary, you know? I mean, this is so dark, I'm not sure that this is serving your purpose. You know, if you were going to force me, you might characterize this as, excuse me, maybe this is like carpets for vampires. I mean, this is a very deep, dark site. And I'm not sure that's serving you well. Maybe that's the vibe over there. The style is different, clearly. You live in the UK, I'm in Southern California. But this just seems dark to me, and I'm not sure that's what you're after, because these pictures are brighter, and I think you'd be well served, at least to my taste, and this again might be a taste thing, brightening the whole thing up. I also would think you'd want a lot more pictures. All this text, this is very text heavy. It's great for search engines. I think that's fine. But who's going to read all that? That's not what people are looking for. I think you'd be better served instead of this one huge banner, which takes up so much of this space above the fold, breaking this into several different photos and making this more kind of boxes of different things that show off. You're putting so much weight up here that if you don't get it exactly right, this doesn't necessarily lead me to click so much. I mean, it's pretty, and I'm sure your webmaster enjoyed coding it, but I'd break it up into smaller things and use some of it for navigation. Down here in the main body of the site, I think you could have a nice wood flooring picture and a nice carpet picture and a nice vinyl flooring picture and so forth, and use that both for more visual interest and as an organizational principle and things that people could click on as navigation. I think that would all be helpful for you. I would also work over this copy a bit. For example, 74% of our work comes from repeat customers or recommendations. That's cool. That's very nice. I can see why you put it first. How about some examples? Where are some testimonials? I know we touched on this in the forum, but some pictures of real people and quotes can be very powerful. Quotes for insurance work, free no obligation quotations, that all makes sense, but I think it needs to just be a little more lively and visual. If you're trying to sell these things, you're really selling visuals, not copywriting, and I think you're too reliant on this stuff, and I would break it up and put more pictures in. For example, here you've got some logos. These can add credibility. I think that's a fine idea. I would more standardize their sizes, like if you can make this big square one more relating to these in terms of their size. You've got 3 different sizes here. I'd put them in a column or something. If you can't get the heights the same, make the widths the same and put them over here down the side. These fonts, by the way, are very basic. This is just your simple Times Roman sort of thing. That could be, you need some more graphics, basically. If you look at the site like this, it's very dark, simple fonts, very small type. I guess I'm sounding like I'm picking on you here, Tony, but I can't help but wonder if you wouldn't be better off with some sort of template when it comes right down to it. This is a site that begs lots of good pictures and bright, inviting copy, and I'm not sure you've gotten that. I also want to suggest, of course, that the width, you've got a lot of extra space both here and over on both sides. You could expand the width of the site to make a little more advantage of it. The biggest point, I guess two more points I guess I would make, are this box I find very confusing. You're kind of at cross purposes here. In touch is not a phrase I've ever heard before on a website. I think maybe that's an English thing, but either way, I think it should be more a call to action, like get in touch. Even more, I'd like to see sign up for our email list or get a free quote. Something active oriented, not passive voiced here. It'd be nice if there was a graphic of some sort. And most importantly, you're asking for way too much stuff here. Name, telephone number, email, and a pull down, and a message, and then hit send. And the send, by the way, blends right in. It looks like another entry field. I would vary the size of that so that people know it's clickable. But most importantly, you're mixing two things here, I think. If you want to get people's emails, and I think you should, that should be right up here at the top. Get our free email newsletter. And you want to offer an incentive, as we've talked about in the forum many times, and that could be something like sign up for our free emails and get 10% off your first order, or get a free series of coupons, or a series of buying tips, how to buy vinyl flooring, or something helpful and interesting that matches the expectations and interests of the visitor. That, I think, is separate from what you're trying to do here. This, to me, looks more like a get a quote form. And that's a perfectly legitimate thing to have on the site here. You actually, over here, you offer quotes for insurance work. Up here, it says get a free quote. Getting a quote certainly makes sense, but that's a different thing than collecting email addresses. And if you are going to try to build your email list with a form this big, you're going to have a really hard time because people aren't going to take the time to fill all that out if all they really wanted was to get on your email list. So I would split this into two things. One, a fun and friendly graphic that says, hey, sign up for our email list and get this. And then you can use those emails to do some auto-response marketing, some follow-ups, maybe every 6 months. Hey, have you thought about coming back to Reffells Flooring? We're having a sale, that kind of thing, which can be great. And we should talk more about autoresponders if you're going to build a list like this. And then second, use this kind of form, maybe on an interior page or further below, but separate from the email sign-up, saying, if you'd like a quote, here's the information we want. Pushing those two together into this one topic, it just visually, I don't think it's going to grab people. I don't think you're going to get a great response there. You've hit really heavily also the phone number thing. Maybe that needs a graphic or a picture of a person smiling and talking on the phone. There are no faces on here. And I think a big part of your appeal, as I understand it, is that you're local. And that's my last point. I think you need to personalize the site, make it more local, add some testimonials, and put some people here. You might add a map, for example, of, hey, we're in Surrey. We're right over here. A graphic maybe about as big as this Carndian International logo that people could click on that would blow up and says, oh, that's where you are. You're right over there in Red Hill. That sort of thing could be very useful to people. And frankly, I'd like to see some faces. They could be your face, Tony. They could be some of your staff. They could be models, stock photos. I don't care. But something. This feels very cold. This isn't the sort of site, and it's black. It's not the sort of site where I'm like, oh, I want to give them my contact info and hope they call me. I really don't. Maybe that's me. And this about us information, opening hours, location, contact us. Here's the testimonials buried in there. How about the Reffells story? From what I understand, Reffells has been around a while. You're keeping this brand name because you think it has some equity among the local populace and your potential customers. Who's Reffells? Who was Mr. Reffel? Is this an old business that you've bought? Well, tell the story. How about some pictures of Mr. Reffel or a picture of your storefront? I would love to see that even here on the homepage. If you're trying to get people in to the store, I'd love to see, like right here, a map thumbnail, a picture of your storefront, and then a picture of the people. Who are you going to meet when you come into Reffells? Come meet us today. And there's Tony standing there with his team. Come on in. We'll give you a quote. Like feeling friendly and alive. I think that would add a lot to the site. And the local angle is really important because what you said is you want to use this site to attract foot traffic. That's what you need. You need people to think, oh, well, next time I'm over on this corner, like looking at the map, right? I'm in this corner. Well, I can hit the car park over there, and then I'll go in, and I'll look for this storefront. with a picture of the storefront, and there I'll meet some of these smiling people who are going to show me some solutions to my flooring needs. That's a kind of a 1-2-3 punch that I think would be really nice, and I think probably equal or better in some ways than your big pictures of carpets here. Kind of everybody knows what a carpet looks like, and this is nice vinyl flooring, but it kind of looks like what I think vinyl flooring looks like. What I'd like to know is what's different about Reffells, why I should bother driving over there, and why I should walk into your showroom and allow you to pitch me on these solutions. That's what I think you need here, and I think brightening up the site, adding more pictures, personalizing would all kind of pull this thing together and make it a more inviting site that would get you the walk-in traffic and the online leads that you're looking for. So I hope that's useful, Tony. I hope I wasn't too harsh there. I think you've got a lot of the right pieces, brightening it up, rearranging it, breaking it up a little bit, and focusing more on friendly imagery instead of text, I think would really help a lot. And I think you might agree with a lot of these comments anyway, hopefully, and I hope they don't disturb your web designer too much, because I think you can do better. So that's what we've got for today, Tony. I hope that's helpful to you, and thanks to everybody who's been contributing to this conversation. If you're watching this conversation or this video later on YouTube or in the Click Millionaires forum, I'm Scott Fox from clickmillionaires.com. This has been an expert website review. I do these all the time. We talk to people not just about design and usability, although that's included, but also about search engine optimization, business strategy, and basically how to make more money online so that you can build a business that you can be proud of and make money to help your lifestyle improve. That's what clickmillionaires.com is all about. If you'd like a review like this for yourself, please visit expertwebsitereviews.com and sign up for one, or come on in and join clickmillionaires.com and we'll hook you up. Thanks for watching. Good luck, Tony. I look forward to hearing more about Reffells Flooring Center and all the future developments. Thank you. See you soon.